From Japan to Malaysia. How I found Islam. My mom said she had been in the wrong and cried. She told me that my sister explained Islam to her, and she told my mom that I haven't changed myself after becoming a Muslimah. I've just become a better person. Began studying Bahasa Melayu. I wanted to study languages which many Japanese people didn't know very well, so I chose my university, because it was the best university in Japan to master foreign languages and learn other cultures. However, I hadn't decided which course I should take. My mum advised me to take the Malaysian course. I was really surprised, as I'd never heard her showing interest in Malaysia before. Soon after I started to study Malaysian though, I fell in love with the language and country. I couldn't study abroad there, but I did my best to be the best student in my class. April 2012-2014. Took classes on Islam in university. A year after I started studying Malaysian, I still had many words that I couldn't understand. I realized that all of them were related to Islam, so I took classes of Islam. At the time, it was only for studying and academics. I did these classes for 2 years. February 2014. First time I went to the mosque in Tokyo and wore hijab. My Malay friends invited me to go to a mosque called Tokyo Kamiai, so I went there to see Salah prayer. I thought I knew many things about Islam, because I'd studied it for 2 years in university, but I was totally shocked when I saw Muslims praying at the mosque. I had no idea why they prayed 5 times in a day or even how they pray. Yes, it was because they were Muslims, and it was for Allah, but I couldn't understand why they want to do it. My Malay friends gave me a hijab, and it was the first time I ever wore one. I felt so happy and relieved. Although I loved wearing sexy style clothing before, I suddenly wanted to cover myself up more after that, to be respected and known for who I was inside. July 2014. Meeting a Japanese Muslimah and taking Shahada in my heart. I met a Japanese Muslimah when I did a part-time job as a Japanese Malay translator at an event. I told her I wanted to become a Muslimah, and I asked her why she reverted to Islam. My heart became full of love for Allah after listening to her revert story. I got to know that there were Japanese Muslims who had the same problems and feelings before taking Shahada. Soon after knowing each other, we became close friends. She sent me a message and asked me Assalamu alaikum Arisa. How are you? Have you ever recited La ilaha illallah before? If you recite it very clearly from your heart, you can go to the heaven inshallah. Shahada is very important, but if you really believe in Allah, and say La ilaha illallah even on your own, you are already Muslim. I feel you are already my sister in Islam. I cried a lot after reading her message. I recited Shahada by myself in my room. Alhamdulillah. August 2014. Finding Hidayah during my stay in Malaysia. I decided to study Islam in Malaysia for a month and stayed at my Malay friend's house. I learnt many things from this trip. I tried the 1-month challenge, wearing a hijab and covering every day. It was too hot and sometimes I couldn't stand the heat, but my heart was full of happiness. I prayed every day and tried to memorize dua. Actually, I could recite Al-Fatiha before I came to Malaysia, because I practiced reciting it on my phone every night. Alhamdulillah, many people made dua for me. But I wasn't ready to take Shahada because I was facing a lot of problems. I believed in Allah, so I took Shahada in my heart only and made dua to Him to help me overcome my problems. January 17, 2015. Shahada at a mosque in Tokyo. La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. On 17th of January, I've got the Quran in Japanese from Malaysia. Before that, I didn't know there were any Quran in Japanese, so I always read the Quran in Malay or English. It was difficult to understand the meaning of each ayah perfectly. After reading Quran in Japanese, I couldn't stop crying and suddenly felt the guidance. I finally felt that Allah had been always by my side, and I couldn't live without believing in Allah anymore. At that time, I decided to recite Shahada, but I didn't know how to recite Shahada officially. I went to the mosque without asking whether I could recite the Shahada today or not, but all people at the mosque gladly welcomed me. More than 10 Malaysian sisters came to be my witnesses. MashaAllah. I was lucky, as Professor Misbah-ur Rahman Yusfi, the director of an Islamic organization, was also in Japan, and he led me to recite the Shahada. Jazakallahu khair. Alhamdulillah, from this time onwards I became Nur Arisa Maryam. I couldn't stop my tears from falling. After that, I had the chance to perform Isha prayer as a Muslim, and made dua at the mosque for the first time in my new life. Soon after taking Shahada, my first challenge as a Muslimah, I told my family about my reversion after going back home from masjid. My sister was studying Islam a lot, so she said to me, "I'm happy for you. You found the right way." But unfortunately my mum couldn't accept it. She liked Muslim people, but she looked confused when she knew her daughter became a Muslimah. Maybe she was worried about my new life. As you may know, Japan is not an Islamic country, and it's difficult for Japanese people to understand why Japanese people would come to believe in a religion. Actually, for Japanese people, religion has become culture, so people don't notice the importance of God. They think Islam is not a religion for Japanese, but for foreign people who live far away. So my mum became worried about my future. She didn't know how to deal with it, so she told me things like, "You are not my daughter anymore." It was the saddest moment in my life. I felt like crying. But I didn't, because I believe in Allah from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't tell a lie, and I prayed a lot to Allah to make it easy. Alhamdulillah, Allah opened my mum's heart. 3 days later, my mum said she had been in the wrong and cried. She told me that my sister explained Islam to her, and she told my mum that I haven't changed myself after becoming a Muslimah. I've just become a better person. Allahu Akbar, my mum started to study Islam with me. At first, she didn't allow me to wear hijab, but now she loves to see I wear hijabs. She also didn't understand the meaning of halal, but now she cooks halal food for me. She didn't follow me in going to the mosque, but she came to the mosque to join the prayers. May Allah guide my family and protect them all the time. Ameen.